And now that with the article in the paper, the word will get out, so there's really no reason to. So I don't know what happened exactly. I presume somebody from the higher up told him not to do it, but that remains, I don't know. It's a mystery to me. I will probably never know. Not that I really care. But just the threat warranted the article anyway. And it was a win-win for me because my wife didn't have to go through the scorn and the shame of having that announced in church. Okay? The story was told on my terms, and the bad press for the church was just, it was horrible. At least from my point of view. All my neighbors knew about it, all my friends at work. Everybody was talking to me about it, congratulating me, asking me for help. I made friends all over the place. It's just been a wonderful, wonderful transition into the ex-Mormon crowd, the best people on earth. And I just wish I'd done it sooner is all. That was the last time I went to church, by the way. So I answered that question up front. That was the last time I went to church. There were 2 follow-up articles. The first article went national on MSNBC. The online comments to the first article broke all records for articles in the East Valley Tribune. So many of you have asked me about what's going on at home. This is really a chapter that's yet to be written. My wife and son are still pretty much in. My wife reads her scriptures every day, and I show in the fetal position, kind of a self-defense mode still. It's only been 15 months, so I just figured to be patient there. But every day I'm more sure that I made the correct decision. I know in big decisions, a lot of us have made the big decision and we're out. Some of us that will listen to this and are here tonight still have a big decision to make. Some Indian tribes, when they have a big decision to make, they go to the oldest women in the tribe and ask them to make that decision based on the effect of that decision on the 6th generation. Of course, I think what they're after here is they're after with the women the humanitarian view, and they're after the long view, the 6th generation. And I think for me, looking at my 6th generation, this was something that had to happen. Because if I didn't leave, my 6th generation would be in a higher risk group for suicide, in a higher risk group for antidepressant usage and mental illness, in a higher risk group for being victims of fraud, especially affiliation fraud. They would be more prone to have to file bankruptcy and have financial problems, okay? Not to mention that they would become beasts of burden for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, which any one of those reasons for me was enough to make that decision on the 6th generation. Now I know a lot of you are not worried about the 6th generation right now. You're worried about your family today, and I know it's heartbreaking, and it was a big. I didn't want my mom to find out either. I know exactly how you feel. I've recently read a book called Healthy at 100 by John Robbins that talks about how many cultures, they treat their elderly totally different than we do in our Western culture. They expect them to continue to contribute late in life. They have lots of high percentage of their citizenry living to be over 100 years old, and they continue to contribute positively. They don't, in our Western culture, we treat our elderly like they've made their contribution. We put them out to pasture. We don't expect anything out of them, and we just let them have rest and repose for the rest of their days. And to some degree, I think we do them a disservice by treating them that way. And I think for my mother, at first I thought it was going to be horrible and I'd put her through unnecessary pain, but I think it's been to some degree a little bit healthy for her. And I don't think my brothers agree with me on this yet, but I'm still working on them. I think if we expect our uncles and our aunts and our parents and our grandparents, when we leave Mormonism, I think it's healthy for them. I do. And I think a lot of us underestimate their resilience in recovering from these situations and these changes, their ability to assimilate change. Plus, the other benefits, my brothers can fly under the radar much more easy because I'm the black sheep. I'm taking all the heat. So that's another thing that's a positive. I think you set an example for, I got tons of cousins and so forth, that maybe now they'll have a chance to reevaluate sometime in their life. They may get a chance to break out of some kind of mind-controlling organization. Maybe it won't be the church, maybe it'll be something else. But it'll help them think outside the box, having an example in family. In closing, Dire Straits wrote a song that describes 50 East Temple quite well in the second verse, and I'd like to read you that second verse. It's from the song, "The Man's Too Strong." I've legalized robbery, called it belief. I've run with the money and hid like a thief. I've rewritten history with my armies and my crooks, invented memories. I did burn all the books. And I can hear his laughter. I can still hear his song. The man's too big, the man's too strong. And he is strong at 50 East Temple. I'd like to go on and some more thoughts on this Dire Straits and this in closing. Yes, we've legalized robbery and called it faith, but that is not all. We vaunted gullibility and called it faith. We've sanctioned discrimination and called it faith. We've numbed our intellect with conformity and called it faith. We've surrendered our free will and called it faith. We've granted power to demons and called it faith. We've apologized for reality and facts and called it faith. We've traded our sanity for security and called it faith. We've declared ourselves the chosen ones and spat upon our neighbor and called it faith. We've justified selective storytelling and called it faith. We've abused our children with guilt and shame and fear, and we've called it faith. We've embraced delusions, called it faith. We've perpetuated lies and called it faith. We've feared the imaginary and called it faith. The truth is that no faith is better than misdirected faith. Thank you. Them all, and I don't think our family love has been diminished at all throughout this whole thing. I've been very, very lucky. And by the way, my wife grew up out in the mission field. She grew up in Denver and Atlanta and Missouri, and she's always had non-member friends her whole life, and I think that's prepared her uniquely for this situation to tolerate my disbelief. Yes? Have I spoken directly to my mother? Yes. I hung up on her one time. I just listened to Hinckley's talk, one of his last talks about the Book of Mormon. He says, here's the Book of Mormon. There's never been any alternate explanation for this book. You know, it had to come from God. All other explanations have fallen under their own weight. And I said, Mom, I heard that talk, and he's either totally inept and misinformed and belongs not to be in front of anybody with any kind of authority, because he's misinformed, because there are lots of explanations on how this book could mean, or he's lying to us. And I don't take that lightly, to have somebody in a position of authority lying to so many people. And she says, well, he's a prophet of God, Lyndon. He would not lie. And I hung up the phone. That was the last time she really talked to me about anything to do with the church. She called back and apologized. Yes?
I might have missed this, but when the dude asked you if you were LDS, what was your answer?
I had to answer yes, of course, because I'm anal, okay. And I knew that the membership record said yes with a Y, so I had to answer yes. Other questions? We're all done? Let's have some beer.